Hi guys, good morning. So today we'll start with the DTP protocol. Okay. So you have already studied about the DTP protocol. Can you guys tell me what is this protocol? Why this is used?
DTP stands for Dynamic Traffic Protocol. It is a Cisco proprietary.
Uh-huh.
It is switches use DTP protocol to negotiate that switch code to be uh, negotiate to be transport or access code. The layer protocol.
And yes, DTP ranking between two Cisco switches. So as the name suggests, DTP dynamic linking protocol. It is used to dynamically negotiate trunking between the switches, right? And this protocol, it is a Cisco proprietary protocol. Okay, this is what Cisco proprietary protocol. Now, why did Cisco create this protocol? Why did Cisco create this protocol? Hmm? For how? Tell me, why did Cisco create this protocol? Store wastage of ports and wire. Is it? How does it prevent wastage of ports? How DTP prevents wastage of ports?
Sir, in switch, we have like different VLANs.
Mm-hmm.
So all VLANs are connected with each other. So if we like connect different VLAN for means each port for different VLAN, and we are assigning like every port with the like different wire. So with the help of DTP, means we are stopping the wastage of ports and wires also.
But I can manage trunk port, right?
Yeah.
We'll also do the same thing. Why do I need DTP?
For convenience. For convenience, like if it's more switches in the LAN, we have to manually configure on every LAN.
Okay. Let's consider I have three switches. I have these three switches, right? One, switch two, and this is switch three. And they are connected also. Now I need to configure trunking. So what kind of convenience here I get? What kind of convenience? Tell me. Anyone?
Actually, having single port to if I bring any single port to dynamic port one will be by default and master. I don't need to
Okay, you don't have to go to the ports and do it manually. So is it mandatory that I have to go and set the port to dynamic desirable only? What if I set it to trunk? Still can be done? Yes or no? Trunking can still be negotiated. Correct? The thing is, here how many times you have to execute the command? Hmm? Four? Are you sure? If I have to configure trunking here, okay. So I have to go to the interface and configure, right? I have to go like interface C, correct? And I have to say switch port mode trunk. This is the way I can configure a trunk. How many times I have to execute the command? Hmm? For every interface, that means how many times? Two times.
4 times.
4 times. Can I do it in three? Hmm? Can I use the command 3 times and configure all the trunking? Hmm? Yes or no? What if I want to do it in three? Command you have switch port mode trunk. I don't want to execute this command 4 times. Can I do it in three? Yes or no? Hmm? Not because I'm saying. Exactly. I can use a range here. So if I use a range here on this switch, I have to use the command only one time. And then one on the switch one and another one on the switch three. Correct? Okay. So that means minimum to minimum, I have to use the commands how many times? 3 times. At a minimum, I have to use the command 3 times. But with DTP, if I go, I can reduce it to 1. I can reduce it to 1. So that means 30% workload is remaining. 60% gone. Correct? So you can say to reduce the workload or to make the configuration easier and faster. Cisco created with what protocol? The DTP. Yes. Now, your DTP protocol, first of all, it is Cisco proprietary protocol. That means it works in Cisco switches only. And this protocol is used to negotiate trunking dynamically between the Cisco switches. It is used to negotiate trunking dynamically between the Cisco switches. Or you can say automatic trunking. Right? Okay. Now for this thing, in DTP we have certain modes. We have certain modes in the DTP. And what are those modes? Dynamic auto, dynamic
DTP on desirable, auto, and non-negotiable off.
So
Non-negotiate off.
non-negotiate is not basically a mode. Non-negotiate is not a mode. With the help of non-negotiate, we are basically turning off DTP. So it's not a mode. Mode are only two, auto and desirable. Only two modes, dynamic auto, dynamic desirable. Okay. Now what is the by default mode on the Cisco switches?
Auto.
Yesterday itself, I answered this question.
Depends on the uses.
How you have to answer this on switches?
Old versions dynamic desirable and latest version dynamic auto.
Exactly. On older switches, because see, in an organization, it's not mandatory that they are using all the latest switches only. Might be you come across a switch which is an older series, like 2950. Then you'll go and check, okay, by default, dynamic auto or desirable. Problem will be there. Because if both sides, if you connect two switches which are both dynamic desirable by default, they will configure trunking automatically, right? So it depends on the series of the switches. Yeah. Now, as of now, let's talk about the current switches only. So let's say this will be what? Auto. Auto. And here also auto and auto. So we have two modes here. One is dynamic auto, and second one is dynamic desert. So what happens in dynamic auto? In the dynamic auto mode, what happens?
They won't initiate the trunking protocol, but they will accept the trunking protocol.
Trunking protocol.
Sorry, they won't initiate
So in the auto mode, they are not sending any trunking negotiation. A switch port which is in the dynamic auto mode does not send a trunking negotiation. It just waits for a trunking negotiation from its neighbor interface. Okay. That means switch 1 interface will wait for a trunking negotiation from switch 2 interface. And switch 2 interface will wait for a trunking negotiation from switch 1 interface. If they receive a trunking negotiation, trunk will be negotiated. Otherwise, there will be no trunk. So that means if they are in auto mode by default, so this auto mode, this is administrative mode or operational mode? This is the administrative mode, because administrative mode is all about the configuration. Okay. So operational mode will be static access. So here this will be in the static access mode. And this is also going to be in the static access mode. Okay. And similar cases here. Here also static access. Here. Okay. Now, if we want that, okay, with the help of DTP, we should negotiate trunking. In that case, what we have to do? We have to just go on these two ports and we have to configure it as either desirable or trunk. Either desirable or okay. So first of all, let's talk about the auto mode. Dynamic auto. So what you can say here that in this mode, the switch port waits for a trunking negotiation from the neighbor interface. Okay. It does not send a trunking negotiation. If a trunking negotiation is received, from the neighbor, It will change in the operational mode to trunk. Okay. Otherwise, it will remain as static axis. Here, a trunk will be negotiated if the neighbor interface is either dynamic desirable or okay. So if the neighbor interface is either dynamic desirable or trunk, in that case only trunking will be negotiable. In other cases, there will be no trunking. That means if the neighbor interface is either auto or access, then there will be no trunking. This is clear. Now, next mode is what? Dynamic desirable. Dynamic desirable. So in the dynamic desirable mode, in this mode, the switch port sends a trunking negotiation. A trunk is negotiated if the neighbor interface is dynamic auto, dynamic desirable, or in every case except the access mode, except the static access mode, the trunk is negotiable. Okay. Another reason, sometimes what admins might do, why Cisco created this protocol is sometimes what admins might do is, let's say you have two switches, right? So on one side we might configure access, and on the other side we might configure trunk. On one side we might configure access, and on the other side we might configure trunk, and that is considered as the wrong configuration. Okay, that is considered what? Wrong configuration. You can see on a link, if one of the switch port is configured as access and the other is configured as trunk, this is considered wrong configuration. This is an invalid configuration. Clear? Understood? mode for switch 1, mode for switch 2, and then what will be the operational mode. These are the administrative modes and these are the operational. So if one side is auto, second side is auto, both are waiting for the negotiation, it will be access. Okay. Same way, one side auto desirable. So desirable will initiate trunking. This will be trunk. Trunk will initiate trunking. This will be trunk. If one is auto and access, so they will remain access only. This is waiting and this will not send the request. Both are desirable, ready to trunk. Desirable and trunk, definitely trunk. Then trunk and trunk, trunk, desirable and access. So it will not accept, it will remain access. Trunk and access, wrong configuration and both are access, will remain access only. So how you can remember this thing? One way is, first of all, this note that, okay, if one side access, one side trunk, wrong configuration. Or else you can say, if you can say if one of the switch port is set to access, there will be no trunking. Anyone is set to static access, manual access, there will be no trunking. And if both switch ports are set to auto, in that case also no trunking. Remaining all the combinations or remaining all the cases, there will be trunking. Okay.
Guys are also online things made from tomorrow on. If you are okay with offline with this not, we are going to get one. So you guys can manage right with this, right?
They got average sure.
What about others? Okay. I'm sick. I want offline is fine with this noise, right? Don't have any of it. If I hear anything, yeah, I have to because I gave you the option. So I have to keep on asking also. This is the second time asking.
So this is clear. Okay. So if one of the switch port is set to access, there will be no trunking. And if both the switch ports are set to auto, that case also no trunking. Remaining all the cases, trunking will be there. Okay. Now,
Sir, one side is auto and other side is trunk means trunk means both and should be trunk, na?
no,
Both
no.
and
See, a trunk will be negotiated when both the interfaces are ready to negotiate it. Okay. On one side, if it is access, in that case, it will not negotiate trunking. Okay. So the trunk will not successfully come up.
okay.
See, if this is the scenario, let's say, for example, if I draw it, first of all, this is wrong configuration. And second thing, if this is the case, let's say this side I set it to trunk, and on the other side, I set it to access. Okay, these are the administrative modes. So what will happen? This guy will remain trunk only. Okay, irrespective of this side, and this guy will remain access only. So now this guy will allow only one VLAN and this guy will allow all the VLANs. Wrong configuration. Clear? So successful trunking is not there.
Sir, wrong configuration understood. I'm asking the dynamic auto is on one side and other end is trunk, no?
Yeah.
So result will be trunk, right?
Correct. Trunk.
The trunk means both the port should be in trunk mode, no? It will become trunk mode.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
This is the case that you have one side trunk and the other side is dynamic auto. If you have this scenario, that this side we have auto. So this guy will send a DTP trunking negotiation and this guy will receive the negotiation and it will change it to trunk. Got it?
Okay, understood. Thank you.
This is clear? Yes or no? Dynamic auto and access. Yeah, if one side access, then both will access only. Okay, they will remain because auto will wait for the negotiation and access will never send it. So that's why they will both remain access. Clear? Okay. Then we have switch port no negotiate. Okay. Another comment. Switch port no negotiate. So what this command does? This command is used to disable DTP on a switch port. Okay. So you will say interface name change the switch port mode to access and then say switch port no negotiate. Okay. And if you want to change the DTP modes or the mode of the switch port, whether access or something like that, in that case, how you'll change it? Okay. If you want to change the switch port mode, so you'll say interface name, and then you'll say switch port mode. Either you can say access or you can say trunk. You can say dynamic auto or you can say dynamic disable. This is how you can change. Okay. Now DTP, you can say like, okay, is a bit beneficial that, okay, you don't have to execute a lot of commands to configure trunking. You don't have to execute a lot of commands to configure trunking. But there is a problem with the DTP. And in real scenarios, even Cisco recommends that you should not use DTP. Even Cisco recommends that if you don't want inconsistencies in your network, in that case, you should set your modes fixed type. Fixed type means like either access or trunk. You should not go with the dynamic auto or dynamic disable. Okay. Cisco says that this is the best practice to use either access or trunk manually, not to go with the dynamic auto or dynamic disable. So one reason is it can create inconsistencies in your network. Second reason, that if this is combined with protocols like VTP, okay, so they can create a total disaster Number three, your DTP is vulnerable to attacks. It is prone to attacks. Okay. So note it down. Then I'll show you how it is prone to attacks. Got it? Yeah, you should use access and trunk only. That means when you configure manually, you will configure whether you want access. If you want trunking, then both sides you will configure trunk only. Okay. Understood? Okay. Now see here. So DTP is prone to attacks. Okay. DTP is prone to attacks. And one of the very common attack that DTP is prone to is it is vulnerable, or you can say it is prone to VLAN hopping attack. It is prone to VLAN hopping attack. Now, did you heard about this attack? Right? Okay. Consider I have a switch, and with this switch, entire my switch network is connected. My entire organization network is connected. This is a switch. And then I have a PC connected here. Okay. I have a PC connected here. This PC is connected. Okay. And this port, let's say for an example, F0 by 1. Okay. And this is, let's say, for example, some hack. Now, tell me one thing. If I leave this mode as default, so this will be in the administrative mode as dynamic auto. And what will be my operational mode here? Static access. Correct? My operational mode will be static access. Now, is there any possibility that this can become trunk without doing anything? How?
Hmm? Yeah, if we configure dynamic
Where? On the PC?
like
How? DTP is working in Cisco switches, right? Cisco proprietary protocol. That means if I need to do something like that, I need to connect a switch. That is also a Cisco switch. And then on the switch, I need to configure what? Dynamic desirable. Correct? But I have a PC only. I don't have a switch. Then what? Is it possible? If I'm saying that means possible. Right? Yes or no? So normally a PC will never send a DTP message because DTP is a Cisco proprietary protocol. But there are tools available which can be used to generate a DTP message. Okay. So what can happen? This hacker here, he can generate a DTP message, and he can send a DTP trunking negotiation. Once this guy will send a trunking negotiation, this port is in auto mode. It will receive a trunking negotiation, and the mode will change to what? Trunk here, right? Here, the mode will change to trunk. Instead of static access, this will change to trunk. This will change to trunk. Now, you might say, what is the benefit of this thing? Having a trunk, what is the benefit? Right? So the benefit is now this hacker can communicate with all your VLANs. Now this hacker can communicate with all your VLANs. Second thing, all the broadcasts from your network will be going to the hacker. All the broadcasts will be going to the hacker. And if this hacker wants, he can wipe out your entire VLAN in the organization. From all the switches, all the VLANs will be wiped out. If VTP is also running in your network. So this is very serious problem for an organization. And that is the reason we do not use DTP. DTP is always disabled. If you want to use it at your own risk. But it is suggested not to use. Even like I said, Cisco recommends to use a fixed port type only. Okay, like if I show you, see what Cisco recommends here. As a best practice, configure both ends of a link as a fixed port type by using switch port mode access or switch port mode trunk to remove any uncertainty about the port operations. Even Cisco recommends what? That you should use a fixed port type only. You should not go with the DTP. You can use switch port no negotiate command to form a trunk dynamically. That means kind of disable DTP. Is that clear? And so interface trunk dynamic desirable auto. And see here how frequently your DTP messages will travel every 30 seconds. Okay, so this point also you can note down. And there, the DTP advertise itself every 30 seconds. Okay, like in these points only you can mention here. Mission is the DTP messages are advertised every 30 seconds.
I described one of these figures.
Which one?
For the let's consider one is dynamic desirable only also by default it changes itself to this kind of one of this. So will it go back to traffic?
So after 30 seconds, it will try again. Status will not get updated. So it will go back. Okay. Because that link will be off, so there is no point basically. If you disconnect a switch, that link is off. So it doesn't matter it's access or trunk. It is unused.
So that's like every 30 seconds.
Every 30 seconds. Yes. That is what it says, right? That DTP advertise itself every 30 seconds to neighbors so that they are kept aware of its status. Okay. And also DTP requires that your VTP domain must match. Now by default, we are not using VTP right now. So when you are not using VTP, your VTP domain is set to null. That is same. Clear? Okay. Now let me show you about this VLAN hopping attack. That how
Sir, switch port negotiate, no negotiate command. We after giving that command only, it is disabled, no?
yeah, either you can say switch port no negotiate or you can use switch port mode access.
Okay. Even though that 30-second DTP message will come after negotiation,
They will stop.
they will stop.
Yes. See here.
Okay.
It says
Ensure at national identity for
the interface configuration command switch port no negotiate prevent that port from forming a trunk port. Okay.
place of issue.
Okay. Okay.
It will trunk port. That means it will not take part in trunking negotiation basically.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Now let me show you the attack. I'll take a switch. This is the switch. And I'll take a hacker machine. So as a hacker machine, I'll take Kali Linux. Hmm? Okay, this is my hacker machine. Now, first of all, I'll show you that this port will be by default in the dynamic auto mode, and the operational mode will be static access. So how do I check? What will be the command? If I need to check the operational mode, administrative mode, show interface, G0 by 0, switch port. So you can see the modes right now. So my administrative mode is and operational mode is correct. Now, I need to perform a DTP related attack. Okay, so I'll just launch the attack. And I need to do what? I need to enable trunking. This is the kind of attack I need to do. I'll say okay. Clear? Now take a look. What happened? Mode change to
Trunk.
and doesn't take a lot of time. Now I can communicate with all the VLANs. And then if I want, I can perform a VTP related attack. Okay. And you see I have what? If I want, I can go and delete all the VLANs also. So that means I can wipe out your entire organization VLANs.
So this will delete even that native VLAN also, VLAN 1.
Native VLAN is on the trunk port. Okay, that is the configuration. Okay. It will not delete the native VLANs. It will delete all your VLANs, whatever the VLANs you have in your switches. Okay.
And across all the switches.
Yeah, across all the switches, which are present in the same VTP domain. Okay. This is clear. Understood? And once I stop it, now you see it will remain trunk on until or unless some other mode changes. Clear? So this is how VLAN hopping attack takes place. Okay.
Sir, can you please show me after switch port mode negotiate command?
Sure. Let's say interface gate 0/0 switch port mode access switch port no negotiable. Okay. Show interface gate 0/0 switch port. Now what do you see? Static access. Let's try the attack again. I'll try to enable trunking. So when I try to enable trunking, now see. It is as it is. Why? Because now this is not taking part in DTP trunking. Okay.
Negotiation of trunking is off right now, no?
Off right now.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
And see here, this is off right now. And here earlier negotiation of trunking is off. Here. So this is clear about DTP.
So then, what is the use of DTP? So where exactly you'll be using it? If Cisco is recommending not to use,
Cisco
then
but then they show that okay, there is not much of an advantage and more of a disadvantage is there.
okay. So in real time,
Yeah, real time
we'll not be using this.
not be using this. Okay, because you create a lot of, you can say, attack surface for the attackers. Okay, and later on, like now I'll show you about VTP, and there also you'll get to know that okay, it can create a lot of disaster again. Okay, these two protocols, VTP and DTP, both Cisco suggests not to use. Okay.
Sir, but in large enterprise organization, we need VTP, right? Only then it is easy to manage
Easy.
multiple switches for wherein the
Okay.
the VLAN configuration is shared and updated on all the switches, right?
Right. So what about the port mapping? Does your VTP do port mapping also?
No.
No. So that means if you want to go and map the ports, you have to do it manually.
Right.
And if you're doing the port mappings manually, you will have to give the port mapping command, which is switch port access VLAN and VLAN ID.
Yes.
If the VLAN does not exist, VLAN will be created.
Yes.
Then what is the benefit? Right?
Okay.
And for VTP also, I'll show you a disadvantage. Thereafter, you will know that okay, slight mistake and VTP is also disaster. Okay. So you can use VTP, but again, I'll say at your own risk. Okay. And just now I showed you that okay, there are attacks which can wipe out all your VLANs. And you know VTP configurations, they are stored in the RAM only. Right? So this thing is clear about DTP. Now let's move on to VTP. You want to perform the attack. Now let's move on to VTP. VTP stands for Virtual VLAN Trunking Protocol. Okay, so name suggests what kind of protocol it is. Trunking protocol. But is it actually a trunking protocol? No, right? This does not form trunking. What it does is your VLAN information is propagated to other VLAN VTP client switches in the same VTP room. That means basically you want to synchronize the VLAN database across your network. Right? Okay. Hmm? We use Now, VLAN trunking protocol. That is VTP. So why this is used? To synchronize the VLAN database. Okay. So first is it is Cisco proprietary protocol. Which is used to synchronize VLAN database across Cisco switches. Note it down first. Note it down.
Hello, sir.
So switches
Hello?
that yes,
Hello, sir.
audible.
Sir, in DTP, DTP server mode and client mode and forward mode is there. That is not relevant.
No, not yet.
Okay. Fine.
In VTP, we have server line transparent. Okay. So switches that participate in the same VTP domain, they can have a VLAN created on once on a VTP server and propagated to the other VTP client switches in the same VTP domain. That means as soon as a VLAN is created on a VTP server, it will be propagated to all the client switches, and the client switches will also synchronize it. They will also create the VLAN. Okay. Then these are the rules of the VTP, that is server, client, transparent, and off. These are the four modes. The server mode, this is where you are allowed to create the VLANs. Your switches, they are by default in the VTP server mode only. This is the default mode. Okay, and in the VTP server mode, you are allowed to create the VLANs, delete the VLANs, modify the VLANs. Those are things we can talk. So the server switch is responsible for the creation, modification, and deletion of VLANs within the VTP node. Okay, then we have client. So who are the clients who are going to synchronize, who are going to accept the VTP advertisements from the server and create, modify, and delete the VLANs accordingly. Okay, they will just accept the advertisements and accordingly they are going to change the VLAN database. Here, the client switches, they will receive VTP advertisements and modify the VLANs on that switch. Okay, VLANs cannot be configured locally onto a VTP client. So client switches, you cannot create VTP, or I mean client switches, you cannot create VLANs. If you try to create, you will not be allowed to create. Okay. Then we have transparent mode. So why the transparent mode is there? That means sometimes you might have a situation that, okay, there is a particular switch that is between the VTP server and the clients where you don't want to synchronize the VLAN database from the server. Maybe you have a number of separate VLANs there. Okay, so in that case, what? We can use the transparent mode. Another thing, whenever you add a switch in your network, you should first always set it to the transparent mode, then do the configuration. If you are adding a new switch into your network, make sure you change the mode to transparent. Again, I'll explain in some time why. Then we have off. So a switch does not participate in the VTP advertisement and does not forward them out of any ports either. That means basically disable VTP. Okay. And the VLANs are configured only locally. So you can turn off VTP. Then we have server, client, and transparent. Server is responsible for creating, modifying, and deleting the VLANs and advertising that information to the clients. Okay, clients will accept that advertisement and change the VLAN database. Okay, while transparent is just responsible for receiving from the server and sending it to the client. It will not change its own local VLAN database. Clear?
During VLAN, the transparent has its own locally set VLAN. So will that be
VLAN hopping. VLAN hopping is related to DTP. Just changing the trunking, that's it.
you told us that even we'll change the we can delete the VLAN. So that moment transparent has its own local VLAN. Will that get deleted also because it's under the same VLAN?
No, like I said, transparent switch does not change the VLAN database from the advertisements. Transparent switch does not change the VLAN database from the advertisements. So it will not get affected. But all your server switches and client switches will wipe out the VLANs. Your server switches and client switches, they will wipe out the VLANs. Here. So these are the rules. Now, if we talk about versions of VTP, so in VTP, how many versions we have? We have 3 versions. VTP version 1, which is the default version. Then version 1 and 2, they have limited propagation and they are supporting only VLAN 1 to 1005. Okay, and VTP version 3 allows for the full range of VLANs from 1 to 4094. Now remember, extended range of VLAN supported only if the switch supports VTP version 3. Okay. VTP supports having multiple VTP servers in a domain. So there can be more than one VTP server also. Okay. And what will happen? Even the server, okay, whenever you change a VTP configuration, so or VLAN configuration, there is something called as configuration revision number. So every time you change the VLAN configuration, the configuration revision number increases by 1. Configuration revision number increases by 1. So the client or the server, anybody, will accept the advertisement that is coming from the highest revision number. Highest revision number means most recent information. Most recent information, or you can say updated information. Clear? And if a VTP domain is version 3, the primary VTP server must be set with the executive command VTP server. That means in case of VTP version 3, we can set the primary VTP server, that this is the main VTP or our primary VTP server. Here. Okay. So you can note down about the 3 versions. This thing.
And
VTP version 3 and 2, they are compatible. 3 and 1 are not compatible. VTP version 2 and 3, they are compatible. VTP version 3 is backward compatible to version 2. But VTP version 3 is not compatible with VTP version 1. Okay. For this also, I'll show you note. Note it. Okay. Now let's see about the note. Note it. Okay. See here. If a VTP version 3 switch detects an older switch running either VTP version 1 or version 2 on its port, it will revert to VTP version 2 operation on that port and forcing the older switch to operate in VTP version 2. Okay. Cooperation between VTP version 3 and VTP version 1 only switches is not supported. Okay. So VTP version 3 is backward compatible to VTP version 2, but not compatible with VTP version 1. Now, what does it mean basically? Let's say you have two switches. So this is the switch which is running, let's say VTP version 3. And here, this is the switch which supports VTP version 2 or VTP version 1. It supports both of the versions, right? So what will happen? This VTP version 3 switch, it will change its VTP version to 2. And also it will force this guy, the second switch, to run on VTP version 2. Okay. But again, if there is a scenario that this is VTP version 3 and the other switch is there, which is only VTP version 1. Now this cooperation is not supported. This cooperation is not supported. Clear? That means kind of you can say they are not compatible. While here, the switches will try to run on the same version. Okay. This is clear. Okay. Now VTP communication. So there are different communication types in VTP. Okay. Like one is summary. Now what is the summary? This advertisement occurs every 300 seconds or when a VLAN is added, removed or changed. So what will happen? Whenever you change a VLAN, let's say you create a VLAN on the server, you modify a VLAN, you delete a VLAN, every time there will be a VTP summary advertisement. There will be a VTP summary advertisement. And if there are no changes, in that scenario, it will occur every 300 seconds. So 300 seconds periodically. Otherwise, whenever you change, let's say within 300 seconds, you are changing 5 times. So there will be 5. And if you are not changing, in that case, every 300 seconds. This is clear. In this VTP summary advertisement, what it includes? VTP version information, domain information, configuration revision number, as well as the timestamp. Clear? Then we have a subset. So this advertisement occurs when a VLAN configuration change occurs. Whenever you change the VLAN configuration, it contains all the relevant information for the switches to make changes to the VLANs on that. That means your summary advertisement is giving information about the configuration revision number, that okay, this is the updated configuration, this is the configuration revision number. Okay. Why? The information that what exactly changed. Here we are having information only about that okay, there has been some change and this is the revision number. In the subset, what will happen? Actual information that what changed. VLAN got created or VLAN got deleted or VLAN got modified, or it was just the change of a name of VLAN. What exactly happened? That information will be available in the subset. Clear? Then we have client request. So this client request, this advertisement is a request by the client to receive the more detailed subset advertisement. Now, let's say client want more extra information that okay, what changed, how changed, right? So that will be sent by the client. These two are sent by the server. This is sent by the client. This occurs when a switch with a lower revision number joins the VTP domain and observe a summary advertisement with a higher revision number than it has stored locally. So that simply means, let's say I have a switch. Okay. Understand? I already have a VTP network for an example. Let's say here my VTP is running here. Let's say this is server. This is client. Okay. And regularly, whatever the VLAN changes are there, so they are getting updated in the summary and subset, right? And later on, what happens? A new switch joins here. A new switch is joining. Okay. And this is also the client switch. Okay. So let's say here configuration division number is like, let's say 10. And this guy joins with a configuration division number, let's say maybe 0. Okay. And then this guy receives a summary because this client will update its own database. And after that, it will also advertise to the other clients, right? So this guy is sending with the CRN number, configuration division number 10. So this client switch, the new client switch, it will see that, okay, my configuration division number is 0 and this configuration division number is 10. So that means it will need more information that, okay, because this will contain, like this is the summary, and after the summary, there will be a subset also, which will contain what is the change. But that will contain only the smaller part of change. And it will require more information that, okay, what it completely changed, or what are the changes, what are all the changes I need to make. In that case, this guy will send what? A client request to seek more information, more detailed information. Okay. This guy will send what? A client request. The new switch that is joining your VTP domain is going to send what? Client request. And this is your summary. And this is your subset. Clear? Okay. So you can note down these 3 communication types. Correct? Online people, any doubts so far?
No, sir.
Okay. Done. Then VTP configuration. So there are not too much of commands. We can configure VTP version first of all, then domain name, VTP mode we can configure, and then if you want to secure it, then we can configure VTP password. Okay. But for configuring VTP, there are certain requirements. Okay. Number one, VTP domain must match. Okay. Number two, one of the switch must be configured as server. Okay. Before that, VTP version must match. And authentication must match if configured. And configuration, the configuration commands can be taken from. Okay. So the commands will be, first of all, you can configure VTP version. Then you can configure VTP domain name. You can configure the mode. And then if you want to configure, you can configure the password. Only 4 commands. Got it? Then this is configuration example. We can look at the show VTP status command. This is it. Let's see practically now. Okay. And see, this is the issue I was talking about. It is very important that every switch that connects to a VTP domain has the VTP configuration revision number reset to 0. Failing to reset the revision number on a switch could result in switch providing an update to the VTP server, because server will also update the VLAN database as a client only from the highest configuration revision. Okay. So this is not an issue if a VLAN is added, but it is catastrophic if all the VLANs are removed, or if VLANs are removed, because those VLANs will be removed throughout the DOM. Okay, so practically also I'll show you this thing, how this thing can happen. But you got the idea, right? Now let's see the configuration, and after the configuration, we will see the this thing can be performed in packet tracer also. So I'll take 3 switches. This one I'll configure as server. This one I'll configure as user. Okay. So just what I'll do is I'll go and enable spanning tree port first as of now, so that we don't have to wait so long. Host name is server, and interface F0 by 1 spanning tree. This interface will be trunk later on, so I'll say spanning tree port first. Host name transparent. Spanning tree port first. Okay. This is client. Spanning tree port first. Now, I want to perform automatic trunking, so I'll be using DTP here. Okay, so on the F0 by 1 and 0 by 2, what I'll do is I'll configure dynamic reset. Okay, so I'll say switch port mode dynamic disable, so that trunking will be formed. Okay, Then now we can check the interface status. Do show interface at 0/1 switch code. So we can see the interface mode is what? Trunk right now. Okay, operational mode is trunk. Okay, now we will configure VTP. So I'll say here. First of all, VTP, or we can check the VTP status. Do show VTP status. So right now you can see the VTP status is what? Basically it is disabled, and this version capable is 1 and 2. And which version is running by default? Remember, version 1 is the default. Okay. Domain name, is it configured? Not configured. What is the operating mode by default? As a server. And what is the configuration division number? 0. And how many VLANs are present right now? 5, which is VLAN 1 and 1002 to 1005. Okay, now let's say I'll say VTP version 2. Okay, then I'll say VTP domain, for example, cisco.com, and you see earlier it was null. Okay, then I can say VTP mode server, so it is already server. This is clear. And if you want to configure password, we can configure password also. So VTP is configured. Now same thing we will configure on the transparent also. VTP version 2, VTP domain cisco.com, VTP mode transparent. Done. On the client, VTP version 2, VTP domain cisco.com, VTP mode client. Right? So this is server, transparent, and client. Now, as of now, if we take a look at the VLAN database, do show VLAN with. So I have VLAN 1 and 1002 to 1005. Right? If I check on the transparent, same. And if I check on the client, same. Correct? Let's check the configuration revision number on the server. So what is the configuration revision number? 0, because I didn't change the VLAN configuration. Let's change it. I'll say VLAN 10. Done. Check it. What is the configuration revision number? 1. I created the VLAN on the server. To show VLAN brief. I created it on the server. Let's take a look at the client also. This is the client. So earlier there were no VLANs on this client. Now if I check, I have VLAN 10. I'll go and change the name. Name HR. Let's directly check on the client. Everything is getting updated. Okay. If you create a new VLAN, if I say VLAN, let's say 20, and name sales, created. Same way, if I remove it, no VLAN 20, right? So the changes are being done from the server to client. But what about transparent? If I check on the transparent, no changes. Let's try to create here, let's say VLAN 50, name, let's say accounts. Create it on the transparent. But whatever the VLANs are created on the transparent, those are not shared with the client or server. Those are not shared with the client or server. Is it clear? Transparent will only update its own local database. That's it. Transparent switch will only modify its own local VLAN database. This is clear? Okay. So as of now, if I check the configuration revision number here, what is the configuration revision number? 5. Now let me come up to the mistake. You know what mistake we can make? Let's say one of the switch in my organization malfunctioned. There was a switch in a specific department that malfunctioned. So immediately, instead of installing a new switch, maybe I don't have a new switch, but there is an old switch present in my inventory. Okay, and that old switch also part of my network only earlier. Okay, so I'll just do the same configurations here also. And host name, I'll just name it old. Right, so this is also running earlier VTP version 2 only. Okay, VTP domain is also same because it was the same organization, right? And consider, let's say this is server. Okay, and now we will consider that here the configuration revision number is high. So to increase the configuration revision number, I'll create VLANs and delete VLANs. Okay, so if I check do show VTP status, right now configuration revision number here is 0. Let's immediately increase it. Let's say I'll say VLAN 2, VLAN 3, 4, VLAN 6. Now check. Do show VTP status. My configuration revision number is 40. And what is the VLAN right now? Do show VLAN brief. I have only one VLAN. Right? Now, and also interface once trunking was configured, dynamic in the site. Now let's say this is my old switch in my inventory. So just for temporary purpose, I will install this switch in my network. Okay. My mistake is what? That I didn't check the switch. I did not check the switch. So I just connected it. As soon as I connect it in the network, see what will happen. If I go on the client, earlier I was having what VLANs? VLAN 10. Right? What about the server? Earlier in my server, I was having a VLAN 10. This is the inconsistency. This is what it is trying to explain here. That if VLANs are removed, this is catastrophe. Disaster. Clear? Understood? DTP, VTP combined, total disasters. Okay, so use it at your own risk. Clear? So how we can avoid? So you can avoid, one is, you can use VTP passwords. So VTP passwords will do what? First of all, it will prevent unauthorized switches. But again, if it was a switch from your organization only, maybe you are using the same password. So yes, it is possible. How? Yeah, then no issue. But if without resetting, you just directly connect it to check whether the switch is working or not working, already gone, right? 300 seconds for what? The switch will start sending as soon as you plug it. Okay. How do you reset? So let's say if we talk about resetting the configuration division number, if I take a look, we do show VTP status. Right now, configuration division number is 40. You can say VTP mode transparent. Configuration division reset to 0. Clear? And this is how you can reset the configuration division number. Understood? Online people clear?
Yes, sir.
All right. So this was about your DTP and VTP. Now next session we will start with the STP. Okay. Clear? So make sure to revise your STP from your CCNA. Clear? Okay. So this is it for the day, guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good day.